to the cloud, Tom. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Luscri, Kilo 8 Zulu Tango, and I'm going to share my screen now. Tonight's presentation is on the W1AW Portable 8 Ohio activation, which will be taking place at the end of August. My contact information is k8zt73@gmail.com, and you don't need to take any notes because this link will get you everything from the slideshow tonight. I'll put that in the chat. I'll also have the slide available at the end. You can shoot the QR code. You can write down the code. It'll give you access to any links that are in this presentation and all the resources for the W1AW Portable 8 activation. This also has the links for the schedule, the info sheet, which you saw part of in the postscript if you read that this last 2 weeks. It also has the form to request slots, which I'll go through each of these. And also it has this slideshow presentation at this link. So again, that's the one I was just on the previous page. The basics of the operation, the dates are August 30th through September 5th, 2023, UTC time. So it actually starts on August 29th local time. Very important when you're scheduling times and when you're putting things down in your schedule when you're going to operate to make sure you distinguish between UTC and local time. We are 4 hours different and we will be the same during the activity. The bands that are included are 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, 10, and 6 meters. No work bands or no 60 meters or 30 meters are included in this. The modes that are available are CW, phone, and digital. And digital can include FT8, FT4, or RIDI, or if you'd like to do another digital mode, just let me know and I'd be happy to make that arrangement. So we want to please you, and you can operate different modes, you can operate different days, you can operate different bands. There's no restrictions on that. Some of the restrictions are, though, that you must be a licensed ham operating in Ohio. You do not need to be an AWRL official or volunteer. You must follow all U.S. amateur rules and licensing class restrictions. So if you're a general class, you can't operate in the extra class band. If you're a technician, you can't operate in the general class band. So you must operate only on frequencies and modes that are allowed by your license. The overall goal is to make W1AW Portable 8 Ohio contacts available to as many hams as possible, to represent the Ohio AWRL section in a positive manner, and to have fun. This will be an ideal opportunity to get the Ohio section on the air. During this time, follow the Radio Amateurs Code and the Considered Operator's Guide. If you've never read these before, anytime you see this font in my presentation, that'll take you out to a link for more information. So there's the Amateur Radio Code and the Considered Operator's Guide, both of which are on the AWRL website. Remember, you're representing the AWRL and the Ohio section during this operation. You can also double dip and work POTA or other events as W1AW Portable 8 during the time frame. So if you want to go out and operate in a park and you want to reserve the call sign, no problem at all, as long as it's in Ohio. Remember, POTA involves all the state and national parks. But please let me know if you do this so I can have the relevant park number and everything and upload to the POTA site. You do not want to upload any of the logs that you create for this. I will take care of all the log uploading. Operate during all of your assigned time slots. If you sign up for a slot, please let me know if you're not going to be able to cover the slot because someone else may want it. But if you are signed up, please try and operate during the entire hour or however many slots you signed up for. You need to call CQ frequently and mention Ohio often. If things are slow, make sure you spot your operation on DX clusters. You can spot it even if things aren't slow. You need to accurately log all of your contacts, and more about that a little later. After you're done, you need to send me a file export, an ADIF file, which we'll also talk a little bit about later. Now, a few words of wisdom from Tom. Boy, I got your call in there wrong. I'm sorry. WD8 LCD. Be sure we could make this a contest, but I want to encourage you to not just make contacts. Have a QSO with the stations you're working. I know it's kind of hard on digital, but let's try it on voice and CW. Be ready for questions about the W1AW portable operations and the VOTA, Volunteers on the Air. I know I operated the first round of the W1AW Portable 8 Ohio, and I got a lot of questions on the operation and on the Volunteers on the Air. Share your location in Ohio. You can say not just Ohio, but you can give them your county or your town or whatever you want. Make sure you also know your grid square in case someone asks you. Now, before you schedule, the process is first take a look at the online schedule, and this link takes you out to it. It is a Google spreadsheet. It is not automated. I actually put in the information after you submit a form. So take a look at this before you submit your form to look and see when times are busy. Now, you might have noticed there's a bunch of gray spots with dashes in them. I've blocked those out because there was almost 3,000 time slots available. So I thought it would not be very productive to do 6 meters and 10 meters in the middle of the night and 160 and 80 during the middle of the day. I know you can squeeze out a contact, but it's not going to be very productive. So sometimes they're blocked out. If you really want to operate one of those times, please let me know. There's not in this on the form, but you can let me know via email and I will make special arrangements for that. That's not a problem. You can work FT8 or you can work RTTY. We're only doing RTTY on 2 bands because so far we have not had a lot of people interested in operating RTTY, but I'd love to have some operators. The times that are already logged are on here are from other people that have already chosen times. Now, important when you're looking at this, this is the most important column. It's the time in UTC and the date in UTC. All the forms you're going to be submitting to me are in UTC dates and times. You can see what the local time is, but the form you're going to be submitting uses these times. We'll come back a little bit more on that later. By the way, please share this link with anyone in your club, any friends you have. Even if they don't want to operate, this is how they can find out when stations are going to be on the air, and they can work the W1AW Portable 8. Some band mode times, I already mentioned that, and some slots are already taken. You'll use the online form to request operating slots, and this is what it looks like. I'm sorry about the echo. I'm not sure why we're getting that. Larry, if you could mute your mic, I think we're getting a feedback through you. Also, please feel free to have your cameras on, but mute your mics. This is the form you'll be filling out. And basically, I need an email I can contact you at, your call sign. Now, if you're going to be doing a club operation, you can put the club call sign in there. It doesn't have to be your individual call sign, but I do need to know what call sign a group is going to be operating, your name and a phone number that you can be reached at while you're operating. Then you click the next button, and you have to do one separate form for each day. So if you want to work multiple days, you're going to need to do multiple forms. I'm sorry about that, but that's the only way to handle this 4-dimension matrix that we've created by all these different slots. So once you pick the day you want, and remember, this is the UTC day. So if you pick Saturday, remember, that's actually going to start on Friday night. Then pick the band you want, and there's 160, 80, etc. Once you find the band you want, find the mode you want, and then pick the hours that you want. And this again is UTC. So this, if I pick 12 right here, that would be 8 a.m. our local time. Just click on the ones you want, and you can do more than one, but you can't do more than one in the same row because you won't be able to operate all 3 modes at the same time. Now, there is an exception to this. If you are a club, you might need to do this, but let me know if you're going to have a bunch of those, because you're going to have a problem with the form. It's going to complain if you try and do more than one in a row. So make sure you pick the right band, the right time, the right day. Once you're done, click the submit button, and that will submit the form. I receive the form. It's not automated. I get a notification. So if you submit it at 4 o'clock in the morning, I might not get around to it until 10 o'clock the next day. So don't be surprised if your information doesn't show up immediately on the calendar. But what I do is I process them in the order they're received. So if someone asks for the dates and times, the same dates and times you wanted after you've asked, you'll still get precedent because your form went in first. And this is just what it looks like as I just showed you. And as I said, it's not automated, so please be patient. If I happen to put you on the wrong date or time or the wrong mode, which I did with someone, please drop me an email. I will fix that. And I will periodically send out email reminders to everyone that signed up just for them to check the calendar and make sure everything looks okay. So what happens if you didn't get the slot that you applied for? So even though there may have appeared to be an available slot, someone else might have been in the unprocessed application queue. So I process them first. You may have confused the local days and times with UTC days and times. So make sure you're working with UTC. Of course, Anthony might have made a mistake, which I do sometimes. The easiest way to find all your spots on the calendar is open the calendar and then simply hold down the control key on your keyboard, press the F key, type in your call sign, and it will show you that there are 21 instances of my call here, and you can jump to each one by using the up and down arrows. So that's a good way to see all the spots you're signed up for. Now, getting ready to operate. After you have your time slots ready, you don't need to do anything until we get close to the contest, but make sure everything's ready to go before, the activity. Make sure everything is ready to go before you sit down to operate. Decide on how you will keep your log. I strongly suggest a computer and not a paper log. If you do have to use paper, you're going to need to transcribe it into electronic format before it gets to me. So just remember, someone is going to have to be putting it in the computer, and it will not be me. So if you do want to use paper log, that's fine. If you have someone that will transcribe for you, that's great. Or if you want to transcribe it yourself, I'll talk a little bit about how you can do that later. But I would really strongly suggest that you use a logging software. And if everyone could make sure their mic is muted and their video is on, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Install and configure your logging software. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Test it and make sure it works before your scheduled operating time. One of the nice things about using computer software is it's going to record the correct time. So make sure your time is correct on your computer. And if your logging software is interfaced with your radio, it will put down the frequency and band and mode and everything right into the log. More on logging a little bit later. So as I mentioned earlier, right before we get close to the contest, make sure you check all the assigned slots. Don't just assume that what you asked for is what was on the calendar. If you want to add slots, you can always do another form, or you can contact me via email if I need to adjust something. When we get to the actual event, if you're in the middle of operating, making lots of contacts, and no one is signed up in the next slot after you on the same band and mode, feel free to continue going forward. But if someone is signed up, make sure you're done by the end of the hour so they can take over. And of course, they're not going to be on the same frequency as you. So let people know, this is the end of my shift. I'm going to go QRT, but look for another person to come on this band if someone's assigned, or tell them the other bands that they may want to look on for contacts when you leave. Choosing an operating frequency, I gave you a band and a mode, but then you need to choose a frequency to operate on. I'd strongly suggest that you operate on the HF bands within the general class HF allocations. What that basically is, it basically comes down to phone for the most part. CW also a little bit. Some of the bands do not have general class privileges at the bottom of them. So for example, on 80, on CW, I'd suggest you operate above 3.525 so that not only extras can work you. On phone, I'd suggest you operate in the general portion of the band. So on 80 meters, 3.80 and above, so that the general class operators can operate. That isn't set in stone, but I think you'll find that you'll have more opportunities to make contacts that way. And I even have a special little chart here that just shows the general class allocations. On 10 meters, I'd suggest on 10-meter phone that you operate in the 10-meter phone technician portion of the band from 28.3 to 28.5. Avoid known net frequencies. I have a link here that you can look up net frequencies. Avoid the AWRL bulletin and code practice frequencies. I have a link to those also. Avoid the band edges so that someone doesn't actually go out of the band. Also avoid any areas of special mode such as the SST, the slow scan TV on 14.238, I think it is, WinLink frequencies, propagation beacons, etc. Be flexible and willing to QSY if necessary. We don't own a frequency. If you're operating FT8 and it's busy, considering operating FT4 on the same band and vice versa. And you might even want to split part of your time between FT8 and FT4. FT4 does have the advantage that you can make contacts quicker on it, and it's quite often not as busy. Before you start CQing, make sure the frequency is not in use by asking on the air with QRL, or is this frequency in use? Make sure you give the call sign W1AW portable 8 when you're asking. Listen and repeat to make sure the frequency is clear. When you're operating, please give the call sign frequently and make sure that you use the complete call, W1AW portable 8 or WAW/8 or however you want to do it, but do not just use W1AW. It's very confusing and it's a wrong identification. So we are only authorized to use the /8 call sign. Also include Ohio or OH on CW periodically to ensure stations know your location. A FT8, FT4 tip that I noticed this morning, Vermont has the W1AW Portable 1 this month, or this week, and someone was operating on FT8 on 15 meters, and they did W1AW/1 VT. What's the problem with that? If you notice, when you go to respond to them, that is the call sign that you're responding to. It's not an accurate call sign, so make sure you leave a space in there if you want to put Ohio in there, or be very careful about maybe not even putting Ohio in there when you're doing it. But just be aware that that is not the proper way to sign on FT8, FT4. Make sure you get the other station's call sign. Super partial check, if you're familiar with that, can be very helpful, but do not over rely on it. If in doubt, ask them for a repeat. There's no hurry. We want to make sure we get their call correct so they get credit for working the station. Be careful to enter the call signs into the log accurately, again, so they get their credit for it. Please be ready to explain the portable W1AW and VODA program to stations that ask. You will get questions on it. For additional information, here's the link. You may also suggest that they visit the site for more details on the VODA program. Typically, the number of stations answering may vary significantly with hectic times and slow periods both. If things are slow, make sure your frequency is clear, especially on FT8 and FT4. Pause for a while to make sure that someone's not on the same frequency as you. Always find a clear frequency to operate. If necessary, QSY on any band or mode that you might be on, and consider respotting yourself to DX clusters when you change frequencies. If things get really busy, you can try techniques used by DX stations, working stations by region, call sign number, or location, i.e. DX only, please Canadians, whatever you want to call it. If it really gets busy, you're welcome to work split if you feel comfortable doing it. That would probably only be on CW, I'm guessing, but if you want to do it on phone, that's up to you. When you're operating, try to stay cool. Even if things get hectic, you're having computer logging issues or you encounter difficult stations. We'll let you define that, but I can tell you that some people might not like the fact that we're operating with a special call sign. They may say it's not valid. They may have some axe to grind with Tom or myself, and they'll take it out on you. So just be kind and remember, it's a hobby. We're here to have fun. If necessary, take a short break and say, I will be back in a few minutes. I have to go QRT for a short time. Or on CW, give a QRX 10 minutes or 5 minutes and then come back and restart again. Things are always better after a little break. So let's talk about, let's take a break here and see if anyone has any questions so far, and then we'll talk about logging software. If you have a question, feel free to just bring your mic on and let me know.
Anthony, it's I.
Yes.
What is the protocol?
It typically be CQ. This is W1AW portable 8 in Ohio, and then just give them a signal report, and you might give your name periodically. You don't need to give it on every contact, and thank them for the contact, and then go ahead and either QRZ or CQ again to continue. You can engage them in conversation if you want. It's all going to depend on what your feel for how things are going. And if things are extremely busy or if things are slow, you can chat as much as you want. You're sort of in control. So you're setting your own protocol, but typically they're going to be expecting at least a signal report and a state.
Okay. All
You
right.
do not need to, most people are going to give you their state, but you do not necessarily need to log that. If you want to, that's fun to let you know, to know, but you don't have to log that. I need their call sign, the date, the time, and the frequency and the mode. Those are the things that I need in the log. Anything else is fine, but I don't need a signal report. 5.9 is fine for them. I don't need I don't need an accurate signal report. I don't need their name. I don't need their state. I don't need their county. Those things are all fine. Now, if you're operating in a park and you might also want to give other information, that's fine also. So let's say I'm operating in Cuyahoga Valley National Park. I might say W1AW portable 8 POTA in kilo 0200. Now, remember in POTA, you do not need to give the park on every contact. Giving it once or twice or not even giving it at all is fine. As long as the log is uploaded to the POTA site, they will get credit for the POTA contact, even if you don't give the exchange every time, even if you don't give it any time. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Other questions, comments, suggestions? Okay, let's talk a little bit about logging software. If you already are familiar with the program, start there. Make sure there's two things you need to make sure, though. You need to make sure that it'll allow you to set up your station with a different call sign. Now, from everything I've been able to read, and I may be wrong, but someone correct me if I'm wrong, Ham Radio Deluxe does not let you set up another call sign. I've not been able to verify that, but it's only registered to your call sign, so it won't let you do a log with another call sign. Make sure it also works well for this type of rapid QSOs. So I'm going to use N1MM, my contesting software, because it's just easier to use than my regular logging software. But that's up to you. If you're familiar with something, it's going to be much easier than if you have to learn something new. If you need a program or you want to use a different program, they're both free and inexpensive ones available. And I have a link here to a listing of the presentation I did. And in this presentation, there is a list of logging software. I should have put the page directly in there, but I didn't. So this is a list in here with links to each of them with prices if they have a cost to them. I've created instructions on setting up special call signs for two particular pieces of software and also how to export the ADIF afterward. So for N1MM, I have a rather long and lengthy step-by-step on how to set up your software, including how to change your station configuration, what you need to change and what you don't want to change and what you have to have there. And by the way, you need to change the station configuration, not just the information on the log, because the log information is the operator, it is not the station call. So you do need to make sure that you go up to your station and change your station data to W1AW portable 8, and then leave the rest of your information the same way you would normally do, so that you will be listed as the operator. It'll have the right grid square, it'll have all the right information. You then need to create a new database. I would suggest you do this and a new log in the database. And again, I'm going through this rather fast. You can go through these on your own later. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And then you need to create the new log. And this is what the log looks like. But remember, under the operator section, you will put your call sign there or whoever's operating, not W1AW portable 8. You've already taken care of that in the configuration. Now, if you want to be able to carry on a conversation a little easier, if you use a history file that has names and locations in it, that can be very helpful. And I've actually created one that has all the US database, because the problem with all of the history files for N1MM is they're designed around the people that contest frequently. The vast majority of the people you're going to be working will not be in the super partial check because they don't contest, and they won't show up in a typical history file. So if you want to use this one, you can download the history file that I've created here in this link. I do need to warn you though, when you start out your program with this history file, it takes at least 3 minutes for it to start. And I'm not exaggerating. It may take 5 or 6 minutes even to load that big file. So just be aware that you do have the option when you start up to tell it not to load that file. So if you have problems with the file, don't use it. So when you're operating, I have some more information in here, making sure that the frequency is being read from the radio. If your radio is interfaced, make sure your computer time is correct. Make sure it's logging in UTC time. If you're using CW or voice macros, make sure you set them up correctly for W1AW portable 8. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, you don't need to do that. But if you do want to do that, make sure you set them up for the right call sign. When you're all done, you'll need to do this little procedure for exporting an ADIF. There's 2 files that are typically generated from the log software. One is the .log file, also called a Cabrillo file. That's not the one we want. That's the one that's typically sent in for contest entries. We want the ADIF, the amateur data exchange format file. And these steps will show you how to do that. You do need to name it something so that we'll be able to deal with it. And I suggest you use your call sign dash W1AW dash 8. You can't use a slash there. It will cause a problem with the file name. Do not use the slash whenever you're naming any files, subfolders, et cetera, et cetera. Those cause problems. Then by doing it that way, I'll be able to identify the file very easily as being your file. And if there's a problem with it, I can contact you and not have to worry about who generated this file. I can't figure out where this came from. You need to email it to me, and I suggest that you use this as the subject line, W1AW portable 8 Ohio log, with your call sign in the subject area. That way I can search for it in case it goes into spam and find it. Again, this is all available for you to download. You can print this out. You can view this sheet as many times as you want. And if you have any questions or corrections to this, let me know and I will change this. So this will, if I see anything wrong in these instructions, I will update it. So it's best to look at the live version. I have something very similar set up for N3FJP. It's actually a little bit easier to set up, and how to set up the multiple logs. You start a new database file and you put in the log information. You do need to change the call in the call field, but again, the operator field should be your call, not W1AW portable 8. So the call for the common fields is the W1AW portable 8, but the operator call sign is your call sign, or whoever is going to be doing the operating. By the way, with any logging software you're using, you do not need to make separate logs if you're doing more than one time slot. You can put them all together if you want. That's perfectly fine. And don't send me any logs until after you're done with the whole week's worth of operations. So I'd suggest waiting until the end of the week in case you decide to jump in and do some more operations. How to export W1AW ADIF file. You click on File, Export, and you're going to want to do the whole log and export that. Again, name it with a dash and not a slash in it. And there's a couple other things you need to do on this export mapping dialog box. If you're operating phone, make sure it says phone to a single sideband. And on these 3 boxes here, make sure the top box is checked and make sure the bottom 2 boxes are not checked. Again, you'll have this available when you're setting it up. So I'd suggest you take a look at this while you're setting up your software. Whatever software you use, also, please do not delete any files from the program or the logs you saved until after we get everything submitted. And please make copies so you have more than one copy of the file. If you have something like Dropbox or Google Drive or anything like that, upload a copy of the log files to there and on your computer both, so in case something would happen to your computer, it will be saved. Okay, so the last thing about logging I want to mention is if you're using FT8 and FT4, you don't need to set up logging software because WSG-ATX has its own log. That's the good news. There is some bad news though. You need to set up a completely separate instance of WSJTX. You can't just change the call sign in your regular WSJTX setup, or you're going to run into some problems. So I have instructions how to do that. Again, if you're not going to be doing if you're not going to be doing FT8 or FT4, you can close your ears for a little while. But if you are, you need to make a second shortcut, and I have step-by-step exactly what you need to do. That second shortcut will be a completely separate log file. It'll be a completely separate set of telling you which stations you've already worked before. It'll have a separate call sign, and you do all that. You have two options when you're doing it. If you are comfortable with computer files, you can save time by actually copying your configuration of your operating setup from the old to the new. But if you're not, go ahead and set it up with no configuration and then just configure it, and you don't have to worry about moving any files around. But again, you have to create a shortcut, and you need to do a little bit of computer work. If you have any questions, again, on any of this, please feel free to contact me, and I'd be happy to work with you on the phone. And if you're having a problem, I'll even be happy to connect to your computer remotely using Google Remote Desktop or something along those lines and help you out. So don't feel that this is a problem. I'll be glad to help you out, or someone in your area might be able to help you out. I have the rest of the information on using WSJTX here. But when you're all done, you're going to go in and you're going to grab the file from the system. I went past it here. You're going to grab the file and you're going to copy the file, and then you're going to send it to me. And that's the file that we need. So you don't need to do an export or anything like that. So I want to operate W1AW, but I feel that uncomfortable using a computer log. I want to use a paper log. Well, if you do, you can do it, but you will need to do some extra work afterward, or you need to find someone else who's willing to do the work for you. Basically, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to transcribe your paper log into a spreadsheet, and then the spreadsheet will allow you to import it into an ADIF file format. And I have instructions put together on how to do that right here. You basically download a template file, which I haven't created yet. I will create that for you. That's basically a spreadsheet file that has column names for call sign, time, date, band, mode, etc. You'll fill all that in. You'll put one call sign per line, per row, and after you're done, use this software and it converts it to an ADIF file. Some final steps: work all your time slots, export an ADIF from your logging software or WSJTX, make sure it's not the Cabrillo file, and then make sure you send it to me within 5 days at the end of the operation. Make sure you put something in the subject area so I can find it very easily. I'd suggest W1AW 8 in your call sign in there. Some do nots. Don't wait more than 5 days to send in your ADIF. If you're having problems, contact me. Don't delete anything from your computer for at least a few weeks, both logging software and copies of the files. Very important, do not submit or upload your log to Logbook of the World, to Club Log, to QRZ, etc. I will do all that as one mass upload. If you're not familiar with HF operation, there's a 4-part series that I worked on with Dennis Kidder, W6DQ, that you can watch 4 hours of video, and you can go through the whole slideshow if you'd like. I also have a whole presentation on logging software, another presentation on tips on making contact called Get in the Rhythm, Know the Rhyme, and Dance the Dance. And then another one on contesting if you want to find out a little bit more about contesting. So again, this link, tiny.cc/W1AW-slides will get you this presentation, or you can shoot this QR code, and I'll go ahead and copy this and give you that in a second. I'll put that back up. Also, at the very end of this, I have some information on presentations. If your local club would like a presentation, I'd be happy to do one. I've done over 350 presentations for groups around the US and Canada since the beginning of the pandemic, and I'd love to do one for your group. I'm going to put this in the chat so you can get to the slideshow. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or demonstrate any of the software, logging software, WSJTX things if you'd like right now. So questions first before we do any demos?
Will you be monitoring the forms during the days of the operating event? That if somebody decides in the morning that they'd like to do an afternoon session, will you be monitoring that?
Yes, I will try to. I have a few obligations that week. I'm doing a bunch of presentations one night, but I will try and monitor those all the time. And I will also give you, because you were here, I would give you my phone number in chat. You're welcome to call me. This is a voice only number. There's no text on it. So if you need something, my number is in the chat there. So please jot that down, and I'd be happy to do that. And again, if the slots are open when you comes to the actual operating time and there's no one going to be coming on after you, feel free to go ahead and take another slot, because I'll have your information, so it's not a problem. The problem is I can't just have people randomly taking slots, because I won't have their information to be able to contact them and get the log from them. Does that answer your question, Zeke?
Yes, sometimes it's hard to plan ahead very far on when you're going to be available.
I will try and be monitoring the form the whole time even if I'm not home, I'll try and get to it. And I usually get to it fairly quickly.
I had a question for you.
Yes.
I'm using N3FJP, and you
Yes.
kind of run over that a little quick for me. What I don't want to do is I don't want to delete my thousands of contacts that I have on there. So
Definitely.
I'll go through that again and see exactly, follow your instructions there. And another thing, what about dupes?
If someone works you twice, just log it. Don't worry about it. Don't bother even saying you're a dupe. Just work them again. They probably think they weren't in the log, or maybe you got the call sign. Maybe they missed the call sign. Don't worry about it. Just work them again. Maybe they just want to say hi again because their friend got a hold of you and they want to do it again. So don't worry about dupes. Dupes are fine.
Okay. And then
especially if you're working, if you're working on another day, that let them go ahead and work you again.
okay. And then a different band, if you're on a different band, you can work the same station again.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Oh, that also brought up something else. If you take part in some activity on a weekly basis, let's say you do the phone fray on Tuesday nights. No one's grabbed that date yet. If you want to grab that date and use it in the phone fray, that's fine. Other questions, comments, suggestions? Oh, paper QSLs. All QSLing is done through the AWRL, and it is all done via Logbook of the World. There are no paper QSLs available for this. So if someone asks you about paper QSLs, tell them there is no paper QSLing for the event. It is all via Logbook of the World only. Thank you, Mike. I'm glad you asked that question. Other questions, comments, suggestions? You can put them in the chat. You can just unmute and talk to me.
I have another question, Anthony.
Yes, go right ahead.
If I'm working POTA, after I'm through, normally I upload my log to the POTA site. Now, if I'm using W1AW/8,
Let me know when you send me the log and I will make sure it gets uploaded.
okay, to the POTA site.
Yes. But make sure you register for the activation just like you normally would. We're using the W1AW call sign though in your activation. So if you are going to operate POTA, make sure you register ahead of time on the POTA site.
Okay, all right.
Because when I upload the log, it'll match up with your activation listing, and that will take care of all the credit for everyone.
Okay, and can you post that on there without having an account for W1AW?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I did one for our local club. I think there's no problem. I will double check on that because I think that's the case, but I'll double check on that. I do have a POTA account anyway. Other questions, comments, suggestions? Is there anything anyone wants me to demo on any of the logging software? Well, spread the word, tell your friends, tell your local club,
Quick
let them
question.
know about this. Yes, go ahead.
If you make some sort of major update in your instructions for N3FJP or one of the other downloads, will you send out a notice that you've uploaded, modified something, so we aren't using an out
Not
of date
unless it's
set of
something
instructions?
not unless it's something really drastic.
Yeah, if it not unless it's really drastic. Okay.
Yeah. And not unless it's a potential fatal error.
Okay.
And the way I'll find out is as you all start going through the instructions to set things up, you'll say, Anthony, this isn't right, or this box doesn't look like this, or you forgot a step or something like that. I tried to go through and do everything step by step. And as you can see, go on here. I actually have
Yep.
the WSJTX Portable 8 icon set up right here. When I start it up, you'll see that this is a separate instance of the software. Matter of fact, it has the little window comes up, so I know that it's the new version. And if I look up here in the file configuration under the settings, I still need to put my information in. I haven't actually put the information in yet. But notice it doesn't have my call sign. And if I go to the log, you'll see that there is no log because I haven't generated any contacts in it yet. And that's really why you create that separate incident, because it creates a completely separate log and it doesn't interfere with any of your previous WSJTX work. Some people think they can just go in here and just change in their, let me close that and open my regular WSJTX. A lot of people think they can just do this, go to settings and come in here and change the call sign right there. If you do that, it's going to interfere with everything else you do. You could do it. You could export the part you wanted from the log, but I don't want to risk you messing up your own WSJTX configuration. On N1MM, when it comes up, the most important thing you do on N1MM is go up to the configuration where it says change your station data. And this is where you change that one field only, and that's where the W1AW Portable 8 goes. Then you say, okay, and then you're ready to do all the other steps. And when I come in here and say new log in the database, I suggest that you use the DX log, but you can use a couple different logs, but that's the one I find the easiest. It's the default. General logging software. Leave your call sign in here. Set all the rest of this however you're going to be doing, whatever you're going to be doing. If you're going to be working multiple modes during the week, put all the modes in here right now. It doesn't matter that they're there ahead of time. Under the associated files, as I said earlier, if you want to use the one I have, you simply use this change to do the new one. You're going to have to say no right here, and then you have to go out and grab the one that I have created. But you can use the one that's there if you want. It just doesn't, it only has contesters in it. It's the big deal. And when I say okay here, watch what happens. This normally goes pretty fast, and it says large call history imports can take several minutes. So we'll go ahead and start this, and I'm guessing it's going to take 4 minutes. So while we're doing that, I will entertain any other questions you might have.
Anthony, how is this whole activation being promoted right now?
Why don't you, Tom, you want to handle that question? You're
The only
muted.
reason I asked is I saw that your report showed that there's only 10% of the slots have been taken so far. And I was
Well,
just curious.
Well, while Tom's unmuting, I thought you meant at the national level or for our local Ohio one. I've been posting it on different websites, on different pages on Facebook. I sent an email out to all the Ohio club secretaries and presidents and newsletter editors. Tom is going to do a blast to all the Ohio AWRL members coming up soon. And we've been running it in postscript each week for the last 2 weeks. So that's the way it's being. But really, if you know other methods or you have other places to share it, please feel free to do that. I also contacted the 2 major contesting clubs in the state and the major DXing group in the state and sent emails to them about it. But I don't have any magic wand that I can just let everyone who's a ham in the state know. That'd be the ideal thing if there was a push here to notify all Ohio hams, but Tom does have the ability to push here and notify all AWRL members in Ohio.
And that's about 20% of all Ohio hams.
There was only about 2,500 QSOs made in the first go around in the spring. I think we can top 10,000, which is what some of the states have been doing during their time period. I personally did about 350 QSOs during the spring when I think I worked 4 hours. 3 hours. Again, it's not a race. It's not a contest. If you make a dozen contacts, that's a dozen contacts that are good for it. Okay, see, we do have, it took about 2.5 minutes. So now when I would type, let's go ahead and put Mike in there, N8 WCP. When I press the space bar, see, it tells me that Michael is in Ravenna, Ohio. So I know that if I want to chat and say, Mike, how's things in Ravenna today? I could do that. Let me wipe this out and put someone else in there. Nancy, KD8 QNY. Nancy's in Poland. Nancy, I grew up in your Middletown. And my sister teaches at Poland High School. And actually, she was the one shouting in the background here a little while ago. So if you want to do this, it's sort of fun because it comes up with information so you can see it. But as I said, it does take a little bit of time for it to load. Any questions on that?
I have a question
Actually,
for Tom.
yeah. Go ahead, Zeke.
How come the ARL doesn't promote the W1AW portable operations, by having on the web page that says, these states will start up operating, Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and the other states, other portable ones from the other states will end at that time each week, because I don't think people know when it starts or what's coming up.
I don't know why the AWRL doesn't do that, but what I intended, yeah, Bob's laughing, but when I have a ability to email to all of the other section managers, and I'll be asking them to put something in their bulletins to all of their members, just like I will do in the state of Ohio here, giving them the link to the sign-up sheet and asking them to, if they want to work W1AW/8 or portable 8, they can go out there and find out when it's going to be on, what bands is going to be on, and they'll have the opportunity to look it up and be able to make a contact, hopefully with one of the operators.
So if you want to see, like, this is Ohio the first time around, 2598. You can see how much each state has made, with the exception of the ones that haven't submitted their logs yet. So for example, West Virginia in their W1AW Portable 8 made 852 contacts. Samoa made 54. But let's see, what's this 10,000 one right here? Oregon made 10,147. So you can see these results. Where I went is I just went to the VOTA page, then W1AW Portable, and then this little states activation schedule, which is in very tiny print. So you're gonna have to zoom in to see it. And if you want to get a feel for how this is going, this week, Vermont has it, and let's see who else has it this week. What is today? The 16th. Vermont and
Oklahoma.
why am I not on the right date here? 8. Oh, I'm looking. It's in the green here. It's Vermont and Oklahoma. Next week will be North Dakota and Idaho. I'm sorry. It's it's Vermont and Oklahoma, then North Dakota and Idaho. We will have Arizona with us, which I think was the same deal when we did in the spring. I think Arizona was on the same weekend as us. I can't remember for sure. So you will have W1AW Portable 7. So some people may come back with you to that. So just make sure that they know that you're not the station in Arizona. Other questions? Did I have this N1MM up while I was with the screen share? Did I show you guys how that worked? Or did I not have the screen share on when I did that?
No, you had screen share up.
Okay, very good. Okay, other questions, comments, suggestions? Well, thank you all for coming here this evening. This will be recorded, so we'll put the link out for the recording on the postscript this week so people can get to it. And I will actually put it right now. It'll go into once we have it processed, which will be probably tomorrow morning, it'll go into the document that I've been putting everything in. That's the information page. So you'll be able to go to the information page, and instead of having the Zoom link here, it'll have the Zoom recording here. So from that link, you'll be able to go to the recording. Tom, any last words?
Well, just what I said the other day is it isn't a contest, and there are a lot of people have been talking lately about not getting enough opportunity to rag chew on the air. And I would say, based on conditions, if you have an opportunity to chat with folks, go ahead and chat them up a little bit. I know you can't do that on FT8 and FT4, but on CW and voice, just have a nice, pleasant conversation with people if you get the chance.